Let's talk about human body.
The human body is a pretty incredible machine. Whether you're thinking about the intricate signaling of neurons, the sheer efficiency of our circulatory system, or the way we've evolved to adapt and heal, there's a lot going on. What aspects are you most curious about?
What about this understanding from scratch? I mean, like how we breathe, or from breathing to eliminating the waste product. That's a whole complete process that is very essential to understand and how actually it processes at the cellular level.
So, starting from the basics, when you breathe in, your lungs pull in oxygen, and that oxygen is absorbed into your bloodstream. Red blood cells carry it around, delivering it to all your cells. At that microscopic level, cells use oxygen to produce energy and create carbon dioxide as waste. Blood carries that carbon dioxide back to the lungs, you exhale it, and voila. Meanwhile, other waste from digestion travels through your bloodstream to your kidneys, which filter out the waste and send it out as urine. So, from breath to waste elimination, it's a beautifully coordinated system.
But can you explain, be specific? First of all, tell me about the all the type of cells we have and tissues we have in our whole body.
The human body is made up of trillions of cells, but broadly we categorize them into a few major types based on function. You've got muscle cells that allow movement, nerve cells that transmit signals, epithelial cells that line surfaces, and connective tissue cells that support structure. Tissues then are groups of similar cells working together, like muscle tissue, nervous tissue, epithelial tissue, and connective tissue. Each type is specialized, so whether it's contracting, signaling, protecting, or supporting, it's all about teamwork on a cellular level.
So, what about understanding it from scratch, meaning that how so basically cells are there and cells again grow, again die, but how that process we can't see, but this is happening every second, every minute.
Exactly. It's a continuous cycle. Cells are constantly dividing, growing, performing their functions, and eventually dying. In fact, millions of cells die and are replaced every day, like in your skin or gut lining. We can't see it, but at the microscopic level, cell division, mitosis, keeps tissues replenished. Meanwhile, programmed cell death, apoptosis, removes damaged cells. This constant turnover is what keeps tissues healthy and adapting to wear and tear. So even if you don't notice, at the cellular level, it's a world of constant renewal.
So, do we have the age of the cell that it grows and again die, or how much time a typical cell would live?
Yes, different cells have different lifespans. For example, white blood cells might live only a few days, while red blood cells live about 120 days. Skin cells turn over roughly every few weeks. Neurons, however, can last decades, often as long as you do. So each cell type has a programmed lifespan, fitting its role in the body's balance of growth, function, and renewal.
So, what about we can also understand the human body in terms of cells because let's understand the bone. Bone has also at the cellular level it is cell. Smallest level it is cell.
Absolutely. Bone might seem rigid, but it's alive with cells. At the smallest level, you have osteoblasts, which build bone, osteoclasts, which break it down, and osteocytes, which maintain it. Bones are constantly remodeled as these cells balance formation and resorption. Even the seemingly solid structures are dynamic at the cellular level, responding to stress or damage. So, yes, whether it's bone, muscle, or brain, when you zoom in, it's all cellular processes keeping things going.
What do you mean by the dynamics at the cellular level?
By dynamics, I mean everything's in flux. Cells constantly sense signals, whether mechanical stress, hormones, or damage. Bone cells, for instance, adapt to pressure. Muscle cells grow with training. Neurons form or prune connections as you learn. Meanwhile, some cells divide, others self destruct when damaged, and some communicate to coordinate growth and repair. So there's a constant interplay of signaling, remodeling, and adaptation, like a microscopic dance that keeps your body functional and responsive.
So what you are basically suggesting, or the bone cell that you are mentioning about, it's what was that bone cell that you were mentioning about?
The key bone cells I mentioned are osteoblasts, which build new bone, osteoclasts, which break down old bone, and osteocytes, which are mature bone cells maintaining the tissue. They work together, balancing bone formation and resorption to keep your skeleton strong and responsive.
Okay, what about you are suggesting something different? Mature bone meaning mature bone cells?
Exactly. Mature bone cells, or osteocytes, start off as osteoblasts. Once an osteoblast finishes building bone and gets trapped inside the hardened matrix it helped create, it becomes an osteocyte. These osteocytes act like sensors, communicating with other bone cells and helping maintain the bone structure. They're vital in ensuring bones adapt and remain healthy over time.
Okay, what about basically if I have that two types of bone that you are mentioning, osteocytes and osteoblast, can we make a bone in lab?
Yes, actually. In tissue engineering, scientists use osteoblast like cells to grow bone tissue in the lab. They provide a scaffold, nutrients, and sometimes mechanical cues to mimic natural bone formation. While lab grown bone isn't exactly like the real thing yet, these approaches are advancing, and in some cases, lab grown bone tissue is used in research or early clinical applications.
Also, that information is informative. Can we move on and understand? Are there any cells in the whole human body which once grow can't be further grow? We can also understand from the uh, organ level thing or from the bone perspective that we have around 300 plus bones when we are child, but after some times it become 206, and after that it can't regrow. Oh, understand the analogy, but it is not directly related with this question I ask. I ask like, do we have any cells that once grow cannot be again regrow?
Yes, some cells are essentially one-time creations. Neurons in your brain, for instance, typically don't regenerate after you're an adult. Once those neurons form and connect, they don't really multiply. Similarly, heart muscle cells have limited regeneration. Most of your organs, though, use stem cells to replace or repair tissue, but certain specialized cells, once gone, are tough to replace.
So one-time creation, you are asking about neurons in our brain. So what was that analogy? Is that also so that when neurons grow, or when we think and store information in our neurons, and once that damage, we also lost the information.
In a sense, yes. Neurons don't regenerate like skin or blood cells. If certain neurons are damaged, especially in areas critical for memory or function, the information or ability associated can be lost. That's why brain injuries or neurodegenerative diseases can have lasting effects. That said, your brain also forms new connections between existing neurons, which is how we learn. So while we can lose neurons, our brain's adaptability, neuroplasticity helps us keep learning and adapting.
So do neurons carry store information what we think and what we observe every day, because somewhere it is being stored. We can say that. I think neurons are the carrier.
You're on the right track. Neurons themselves don't store thoughts like files, but they are the carriers of the signals. What we think of as stored information, like memories, is encoded in the connections between neurons, known as synapses. These connections strengthen or weaken based on what you experience. So the storage is really in the patterns of networks, how neurons connect and signal to each other. In other words, it's the dynamic wiring of the brain that holds what you know.
Dynamic wiring of the brain that holds what we know. Okay. So also, once the neuron architecture are fully installed in our whole human body, it cannot regrow. So their cell did not die. We can say that.
Neurons are long lived, but they do age, and some can die, whether due to injury, disease, or natural processes. What doesn't happen easily is replacement. Once you've formed most of your neurons early in life, the brain relies on the existing network. While there's some limited neurogenesis in certain regions, overall you depend on the neurons you have. So, yes, damage can lead to permanent loss because those specific neurons won't regrow. Instead, your brain adapts by rewiring pathways.
Okay, the pathway, do you mean by that pathway that you are mentioning about?
When I say pathway, I mean the network of connections between neurons. Each neuron communicates with others through synapses, forming circuits. These circuits carry information, whether it's a sensory input, a memory, or a motor command. If one neuron or connection is lost, sometimes neighboring neurons can form new links, like a detour. That's the brain's plasticity. It can reorganize its pathways to adapt, though some functions are harder to reroute than others.
Network of connection between neurons. Each neuron communicates with other through synapses, forming circuits. These circuits carry information, whether it's a sensory input or a memory or a motor command. If one neuron or connection is lost, sometimes neighboring neurons can form new links like a detour. That's the brain plasticity. It can reorganize its pathway to adapt. So basically, these neurons are actually like a whole roadmap already installed. Once something got damaged, how does it again reroute itself, or how does it happen?
When a pathway is disrupted, the brain can adapt by strengthening other existing connections. Neurons that weren't previously as active might form new synapses or increase signaling efficiency. This process is largely driven by activity. Neurons that fire together wire together. Rehabilitation, like physical or cognitive therapy, can promote these changes. It's not perfect. Some functions are harder to regain. But this adaptability, neuroplasticity, helps us recover or learn after damage.
Some functions are harder to regain, but this adaptability, neuroplasticity, okay. So what you are suggesting, brain adapt by, okay, this is the brain actually that adapts things.
Exactly. The brain is remarkably adaptable. Even when something changes, be it learning something new or recovering from damage, your brain is constantly adjusting its connections. That's how we keep growing, adapting, and sometimes recovering function.
Okay, can you give comment on how the brain actually are made of, and what are the cells brain are made of?
The brain is primarily made of two main types of cells, neurons and glial cells. Neurons are the ones that transmit electrical and chemical signals, basically the communication specialists. Glial cells, on the other hand, are the support crew. They nourish, protect, and insulate neurons and help clean up waste. Together, these cells form intricate networks, creating what we know as the brain's structure and function. It's a team effort.
So what about this neurons and glial cells? What is the role of this glial cells?
Glial cells are like the brain's support team. They have several crucial roles. Some, like astrocytes, regulate nutrients, help form the blood-brain barrier, and support neuron signaling. Microglia act as immune cells, cleaning up debris and defending against infections. Oligodendrocytes in the CNS and Schwann cells in the PNS produce myelin, which insulates neurons and speeds up signals. In short, glia keep neurons healthy, efficient, and protected. Without them, neurons couldn't function properly.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that glial cells are essential caretakers. They don't transmit the signals like neurons, but they enable neurons to do their job. Whether it's feeding neurons, cleaning up waste, or insulating their wiring, glia ensure the brain runs smoothly. They're indispensable for the brain's health and function.
How do they do that thing actually? You mentioned certain things like feeding, cleaning, insulating.
So, astrocytes supply nutrients and help maintain the chemical environment for neurons. Microglia patrol for infections or debris, cleaning up damage. Oligodendrocytes in the brain and spinal cord wrap around axons, forming myelin sheaths that speed up electrical signals. Basically, each type of glial cell has a specialized job that ensures neurons stay nourished, protected, and efficient in their communication.
Axon meaning
The axon is the long, slender part of a neuron that carries electrical impulses away from the cell body toward other neurons, muscles, or glands. Think of it as the neuron's wire for sending signals.
So you mentioned about this blood cells also die. One dies very quick and one at least 120 something that. But what about why they do that, and does it a natural thing or it has some reason?
It's natural. Different cells have programmed lifespans based on their job. Red blood cells, for instance, work hard carrying oxygen, but they wear out in about 120 days. They're then recycled by the body. Fast turnover cells like skin or gut lining protect you from constant wear. Neurons, by contrast, are built to last since they store long term information. So it's all about each cell's role. The body balances renewal and stability for optimal function.
What do you mean by that optimal function?
I mean, the body balances cell lifespans so that everything runs smoothly. Cells that face a lot of damage or need frequent replacement, like skin or blood cells, are short lived, ensuring fresh cells keep you protected and oxygenated. Neurons, which store knowledge and coordinate actions, last longer to maintain stability. This balance, replacing where needed, preserving where crucial, keeps all systems functioning at their best.
What next you want to describe?
I'm happy to dive into another topic when you're ready. If you have a particular direction, whether it's more about cells, brain functions, or anything else, just let me know and we'll explore it together.
No, we have the general structure in human physiology. We study a general structure of the cell. Is that cell the basic building block of every cell, like neuron or like bone or everything, or liver or stomach or everything? They have the same structure or it is different?
The basic building plan's the same. They're all cells, with a membrane, cytoplasm, and genetic material, but their structure is specialized to their function. A neuron is long and branch like to transmit signals, a muscle cell contracts, and a liver cell is packed with enzymes for metabolism. So while they share a common cellular foundation, each type is uniquely adapted to its role. Form follows function.
Enzymes for metabolism meaning?
I mean that liver cells contain enzymes that speed up chemical reactions, like breaking down toxins, metabolizing nutrients, or producing energy. So each cell's enzymes are like specialized tools. Liver cells' tools are geared toward processing chemicals, while other cells have tools for their own tasks.
So, what do you mean by specifically enzyme meanings? What?
An enzyme is a protein that acts as a catalyst, meaning it speeds up chemical reactions without being used up itself. In other words, enzymes help convert one molecule into another much faster than would happen on its own. Different enzymes have different specific jobs, depending on the reaction needed, like breaking down sugars, building proteins, or detoxifying substances.
Okay. So what was one thing that interests you most about the cell from the human body perspective?
What fascinates me most is the sheer intelligence packed into each cell. Every cell is like a tiny autonomous factory, sensing its environment, responding to signals, maintaining itself, and coordinating with the whole body. From the nucleus managing genetic instructions to the enzymes and organelles performing precise tasks, it's like an intricate microscopic symphony, one that keeps us alive and thriving.
Can we make a cell from scratch in lab?
We can't quite build a fully functional cell from scratch yet. We can synthesize certain components, DNA, proteins, lipids, but a living cell is incredibly complex. Scientists have come close by reprogramming simple bacteria with synthetic genomes, but a fully lab built complex human cell remains beyond us. Still, each step in synthetic biology gets us closer to understanding and maybe one day engineering life itself.
What about this DNA? Does it is also a cell? No, it's a part of the cell that stores information about that specific cell.
Exactly. DNA isn't a cell itself, it's the genetic blueprint inside each cell. Stored in the nucleus for cells that have one, DNA carries instructions, genes, that tell the cell what proteins to make. Those proteins determine the cell's structure and function. So DNA is the master code that guides what the cell will become and how it will behave.
So every cell contain DNA.
Almost every cell in your body contains DNA. The main exceptions are mature red blood cells, which lose their nucleus and DNA to maximize space for carrying oxygen. But otherwise, whether it's a skin cell, muscle cell, or neuron, it has the same DNA. What makes cells different is which genes are turned on or off. So the same DNA can produce very different cell types.
So DNA controls every cell. It how do also how does it store information about the cell? I think it needs to be continuously changing the so DNA is updating every thing.
DNA doesn't constantly change in each cell. It's actually quite stable. The information is stored in sequences of four bases, A, T, C, G, which form a code. It doesn't update daily, but the cell can read different parts of the code as needed. Genes are turned on or off depending on what the cell needs. So while DNA stays largely the same, the cell's machinery changes which instructions it follows, and that's how it adapts.
So what you are suggesting?
I'm saying that DNA is like a stable instruction manual. It stores all the information a cell might need. What changes daily is which part of the manual is being read. The cell regulates which genes, sections of DNA, are active at any given time. So the DNA stays the same, but the cell adapts by choosing which parts of the instructions to use. That's how cells respond to their environment.
Okay, what next you are suggesting? Important. What fascinates you more about thinking of a DNA and why it is inside the nucleus only?
What's fascinating is that DNA is this universal code. Every cell has the same blueprint, yet it's used differently depending on the cell's job. It's inside the nucleus for protection. DNA is precious, damage can cause serious issues. So the nucleus acts like a vault. It keeps the DNA safe and organized so the cell can access it when needed. In short, DNA is tucked away because it's the master code that keeps everything running.
It's inside the nucleus for protection. DNA is precious. Damage can cause serious issues, so the nucleus acts like a vault. It keeps the DNA safe and organized so that the cell can access it when needed. In short, DNA is tucked away because it is the master code that keeps everything running. What you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting that the nucleus is the cell's way of safeguarding its most vital instructions. DNA holds the blueprint for every cellular activity. By keeping it protected inside the nucleus, the cell ensures that the genetic code stays intact and the cell can reliably access and use it to direct its functions. In essence, DNA is the master plan, and the nucleus keeps that plan secure.
DNA is the master plan and nucleus keeps the plan secure. Support this statement.
Sure, the DNA in the nucleus carries all the instructions to build and maintain an organism, every protein, every structure. If the DNA were damaged or left exposed, critical information could be lost. By locking it in the nucleus like a vault, the cell ensures that the master plan stays intact, so it can be read and followed whenever needed.
So, what suggest a very interesting topic from human body that we can discuss now.
Let's dive into the brain's plasticity. It's fascinating how your brain can rewire itself when you learn something new or recover from injury. Neurons form new connections, strengthening pathways you use often. It's like a built in adaptability mechanism. Your brain is always reshaping itself based on experience. It's a perfect mix of stability and change, and it keeps us learning throughout life.
Neurons form new connection. What do you mean by that?
I mean that when you experience something new or practice a skill, neurons that fire together strengthen their connections, forming new synapses or reinforcing old ones. This makes pathways more efficient. So over time, your brain is literally reorganizing its network, building or adjusting connections, so you get better at what you do.
What about the blood circulation in human? What is the most human bodies struggle to maintain that thing? One thing that most human body struggle to maintain that one thing.
One big challenge is maintaining blood pressure. The body constantly adjusts to keep it stable, whether you're lying down, standing up, or exercising. It's a delicate balance of heart rate, blood vessel constriction, and fluid levels. If it's off, too high or too low, organs can suffer. So the circulatory system is always working to keep that pressure just right.
Blood circulation. Okay, but I think this is blood pressure is directly related with the heart that pumps the blood, and because pumping blood and reaching to every cell, the oxygenated blood is very important. That help us to make us alive. That is the most crucial thing now.
Exactly. The heart is central. It's the pump that keeps oxygen rich blood reaching every cell, giving them the energy they need. Without steady circulation, cells wouldn't get oxygen or nutrients, and waste wouldn't be cleared away. So, yes, it's absolutely crucial. Your heart and blood vessels form the life support system for every cell in your body.
Okay, steady circulation meaning.
Steady circulation means that the heart continuously pumps blood at a consistent rate and the blood vessels efficiently carry it throughout the body. It's balanced. Oxygen rich blood flows out to tissues, and oxygen depleted blood returns for reoxygenation. When this is stable, cells get what they need, waste is removed, and everything functions smoothly. Disruptions like high blood pressure or blockages can strain organs. So, steady circulation is key for overall health.
What was this electrocardiography graph meaning?
Electrocardiography, or ECG, is a way to measure the electrical signals produced by your heart as it beats. Each heartbeat involves an electrical impulse that triggers the heart muscles to contract. An ECG records these impulses as a graph, showing the timing and strength of each phase. It's a crucial tool for understanding heart rhythm, detecting irregularities, or diagnosing heart conditions.
So it's all about heart, and it is directly related with the blood pressure because how that blood the supply chain actually working or not.
Yes, exactly. The heart's rhythm and strength determine how effectively it pumps blood, which directly impacts blood pressure. If the heart's pumping is off, too fast, too slow, or irregular, blood pressure can fluctuate. So the ECG helps ensure the heart's working properly, which in turn keeps that blood supply chain and pressure on track.
No, no, ECG cannot help because ECG is a measure to understand actually what is that in order to read that condition that it is happening in right way or not. And from ECG perspective, we can further apply something that may help for that case.
You're right. The ECG itself is diagnostic. It's like a window into how the heart's behaving at that moment. If something's off, that's when interventions come in, whether it's medication, a pacemaker, or lifestyle changes. So, yes, the ECG is the reading. And from that reading, doctors figure out what steps will help keep the heart and circulation in balance.
But how that ECG is being calculated and uh, plotted in the graph?
An ECG uses electrodes placed on your skin, typically on your chest, arms, and legs. These detect the tiny electrical impulses generated by your heart with each beat. The signals are sent to the ECG machine, which amplifies them and plots them as a graph. The graph shows wave patterns. Each wave corresponds to a different part of the heartbeat. From that, doctors can see if the heart's rhythm and electrical activity are normal.
No, can you explain that part actually, how that data is taken? I need to understand. And what that graph predict?
When electrodes are placed on your skin, they sense the electrical changes as your heart cells depolarize and repolarize. Each beat creates predictable waves: the P wave for the atria contracting, the QRS complex for the ventricles contracting, and the T wave for recovery. The graph, an ECG trace, shows these waves over time. By analyzing the wave shapes and timing, doctors assess heart rhythm, look for abnormalities, and check heart function.
What is a normal ECG condition?
A normal ECG shows a regular pattern. You'll see a P wave, the atria contracting, followed by a QRS complex, the ventricles contracting, and then a T wave, ventricular recovery. These cycles repeat evenly, with consistent timing. The heart rate usually ranges from 60 to 100 beats per minute. If the waves are orderly and the timing is consistent, that typically indicates a healthy rhythm and normal electrical activity.
What is basically but I don't think I understand this ECG part because when I think electrodes are placed and that electrodes catches signals and that signal is mapped to the software and that software predict the graph. But how that signal that we got from the we got That is a puzzling thing for me.
I get it. Think of each heartbeat like a tiny electrical wave. As your heart muscle depolarizes and repolarizes, it creates small voltage changes. The electrodes simply detect those voltage shifts. Each wave of electrical activity, like the atria contracting, produces a specific shape. The software just turns those voltage changes over time into a graph. In short, the signal is just electrical activity captured, then visualized.
The signal is just electrically activity captured. Okay. What is a double circulation?
Double circulation refers to the fact that in humans, blood passes through the heart twice in one complete cycle. First, deoxygenated blood goes from the body to the heart and then to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Then, oxygenated blood returns to the heart and is pumped out to the body. This double loop, one loop for lungs and one for the body, ensures efficient oxygen delivery and circulation. It's key to our warm-blooded active metabolism.
Okay, can we make conclusion what we are discussing in this chat?
In a nutshell, we explored how the human body is a symphony of cells, each specialized but all following instructions encoded in DNA. We talked about neurons forming connections, the heart pumping blood, and how we measure that with ECG. Ultimately, it's all about coordinated systems, cells, heart, brain, working in harmony to keep us alive and adaptable. Quite an amazing interplay, right?
Okay, thank you.